All right, let's dive into Robert Greene's incredible book, The Laws of Human Nature. Today, we're going to get a handle on what is maybe the most crucial skill you can have, understanding why people do the things they do, not just what you see on the surface, but what's really driving them underneath.
And look, Greene doesn't mess around. He gets right to the point with this quote. You could literally be the smartest person in the room, a genius at your job, but if you can't navigate the social world, all that brilliance just kind of fizzles out. I've seen it happen, you've probably seen it happen. Talented people getting sidelines simply because they don't get people. The stakes here are just incredibly high. So that's the million-dollar question, right? How do you master this hidden game? Because it really does feel like there's this invisible game being played all around us all the time. But here's the good news. There are rules. And once you learn those rules, you can do more than just play. You can actually start to win. So here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to look in the mirror and figure out our own wiring. Then we'll turn that focus outward and learn how to decode the signals other people are sending. After that, we'll get into how to navigate basically any social situation. And you're going to want to stick around for the end because that final takeaway, well, it's going to completely change how you think about your time.
So where do we start? Well, before you can even begin to figure other people out, the journey has to start with you. And yeah, that means some honest, maybe even a little uncomfortable self-reflection. It's the foundation for everything else. Greene calls this the shadow. It's that part of you where you stuff everything you don't really like about yourself. Your insecurities, your selfish thoughts, all of it. But here's the crazy part. The more you try to ignore it and pretend it isn't there, the stronger it gets, until it just erupts, usually at the worst possible moment. So the answer isn't to fight your shadow, it's to embrace it. You know those weird emotional outbursts you have sometimes? Yeah, that's your shadow trying to get your attention. When you actually acknowledge your flaws, you become way more authentic and relatable. The most creative, powerful people out there, they don't deny their darker side. They grab that hidden energy and pour it into their work. And this just perfectly illustrates how our inner game totally shapes our outer reality. Okay, so you've got Marcus and Lydia. They both go to Paris. Marcus, he's got this closed-off, negative vibe. All he sees are problems, the crowds, the language barrier, and he leaves thinking Paris is so overrated. But then you have Lydia. She's open, she's positive, she sees challenges as opportunities, laughs when she messes up her French, and has the time of her life. It's the exact same city, but two totally different worlds, created entirely by what's going on inside their heads. All right, so we've started looking in the mirror. Now it's time to turn that focus outward. We're going to learn how to read those subtle, often invisible, signals that people are broadcasting 24/7. Let's talk about something really tricky, something dangerous. Envy. There are people out there who just can't stand to see you do well, and they will, consciously or not, try to bring you down. So the question is, how do you spot them before the damage is done? Well, Greene gives us two super powerful tests. First, tell them some good news. Listen to their words. Sure, they'll probably be nice, but watch their eyes. Look for that split-second flash of resentment. Second, tell them some bad news. And look for that tiny, almost microscopic flicker of a smile or relief on their face. It's just like this manager he talks about who says all the right things to a departing employee, but then immediately starts spreading rumors. The envy was always there, you just had to know where to look. What Greene is really saying here is that you've got to look at the pattern, because people rarely do something just once. He warns us about a few toxic types to really watch out for. The hyper-perfectionist, who just sucks the life out of you with endless micromanaging. The relentless rebel, who seems cool at first, but whose anti-everything attitude will eventually be aimed right at you. And the personalizer. Oh man, you know this person. They take everything so personally, you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells. Okay, so we've done the internal work, we've learned to read other people. Now for the fun part. Putting it all together to become way more effective in the real world. This right here, this is the golden rule of getting anyone to see things your way. You can't just force an idea on someone. It never works. Think of people's minds like a fortress. You can't just charge the front gates. You have to be invited inside. And that only happens when they feel safe. So how do you get that invitation? You start by making them feel totally safe and understood. Never, ever make them feel stupid or attack their beliefs. But this is where it gets really clever. The most powerful move is to use their own resistance against them. Greene tells this amazing story about a mother with a rebellious son. Instead of nagging him to study, she said,
That principal is dead set on you failing. Boom, instantly, studying wasn't about obeying her, it was about getting revenge on an authority figure he already hated. She turned his own rebellion into her best weapon. Genius. Okay, this next one is a wild story about what happens when solutions go completely wrong. Back in the day, the government in Delhi was freaking out about all the poisonous snakes, so they came up with a brilliant idea: offer a cash reward for every dead snake. And what do you think happened? People started breeding snakes just to turn them in for the cash. So when the government caught on and canceled the program, all those breeders just let their now worthless snakes go free, and the city ended up with way more snakes than before.
So how do we avoid our own Delhi snake disaster? We have to learn to zoom out and see the big picture. Before you make a move, you have to think 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. Think about the chain reaction. The real key here is to fight that urge for a quick fix and instead focus only on what truly matters for your long-term goals.
And that brings us to the final law. And honestly, this might be the most important one of all. It's the one thing we all try to avoid thinking about, but facing it head on, that's the secret to a life that truly matters. Here's a hard truth. We act like we have all the time in the world. We put things off, we waste our days on nonsense, but the clock is ticking loudly. The reality is, our time to actually get things done, to make a real impact, is shockingly limited. Let's just do some quick and maybe a little scary math here. Let's say you're 30 years old right now. Realistically, you've probably got about 30 more years of that peak, high-energy, productive time, until you're around 60. But wait, it gets crazier, because out of those 30 years, you've got to subtract all the other stuff. So let's take out about 8 years for sleep, 2 for your commute, another 3 for just basic self-care, and let's be conservative and say 2 for pure entertainment. All of a sudden, that 30-year runway looks a whole lot shorter. So when all is said and done, what's left? 15 years. 15 years to build your career, to create that thing you've always wanted to create, to raise your family, to do it all. That's it. When you look at it like that, it's really not a lot of time, is it? Look, the point of this isn't to scare you, it's to light a fire under you. That feeling of a deadline is the most powerful motivator on earth. It forces you to get serious about what matters. So knowing what you now know about yourself, about other people, and about the time you actually have left, the only real question is, what are you going to do with it?